What are your thoughts on the Washington and the Tampa Bay game?
Washington, Tampa Bay. I don't know. I feel like that's a lot of people are hearing what Chase Young is saying, and I feel that a lot of people are feeling an upset there. But I just don't know. I mean, Washington has playmakers on defense for sure. Starting with that defensive line, that's obviously kind of their bread and butter, their strength, their forte. That Holcomb kid, Cole Holcomb, he can play. They just had Curl named on the All Pro team, so he can play. But sorry, not the All Pro team. He made the Pro Bowl, I think. And I don't know. I just feel that a lot of people are riding on Washington's defense, but Alex Smith in that offense is really uninspiring. I think
Uninspiring. They're 4-1,
un,
man. 4-1.
uninspiring. Yeah, with Alex
Four
Smith.
and one with
But
Alex
that's
Smith.
no, that's
We're not
I
talking
don't
about
buy.
Dwayne Haskins, here. We're not talking about Dwayne Haskins. That guy's long gone.
Yeah, Dwayne Haskins was a fiasco. That's a story for another day. I mean,
Exactly. So
starting.
we're talking about. I don't know. I think rightfully so. People are in Washington for a good reason. Like, you just like Brady. That's what it has to do with, right? That's nothing else.
Well,
It's
I
just
mean,
it's just the Brady love.
it's not just the Brady love. I think honestly, I think that Tampa Bay, the past month, the past 4 games that they've played were a complete godsend. I think the
Yeah.
way that
Who
they
have they
just
played?
exactly. I think that those admittedly bad teams that they played are exactly what they needed. I think they needed that confidence boost. I think they needed more of those reps together as a team to really get in the in-game groove of things, to really get into each other's games, and obviously the offensive explosion just helps to build confidence. And I
I know
think
Mike
that's
Evans.
actually
Mike Evans may not play, right?
yeah. Mike Evans might be out, but I don't think that matters. I think people are
That's the
still
go-to
sleeping
guy.
on that Antonio. I think
He's been
people
the
are sleeping on the
go-to,
Antonio
man.
Brown Tom Brady connection. The last couple of weeks
Uh,
Antonio Brown has been balling. I think the
against the
last couple of weeks
Falcons.
Antonio Brown has been balling,
Against the
and I think
Falcons.
if Mike Evans is out, yeah, admittedly they're bad teams. Every single matchup favored Tampa Bay, but like I said, that's exactly what they needed to round off the season, really get their momentum going. Again, increase the number of reps that they've really played with each other, and build confidence. That gives them a really good foundation to build off of. And I actually think that even though this Washington team can present problems, again, pressure and Brady don't go well together, and that defensive line
Oh,
is
that's a
monstrous.
stat I was about to
Chase
bring up for
Young
sure. Yeah, that's Brady has
yeah,
not been good
of
against the
course,
pressure for quite some
Brady.
time now. Not just this year, but a few years now. Him and pressure don't
Well,
do well.
yeah,
He doesn't want to get hit.
I think that's just signs of the times. I think Brady is the last remnant of the last generation and play style of QB. I don't think that QBs like Brady. It's not that they can't find success in the league, but I just don't think the league is tailored to their play style anymore. The days of a true pocket QB where they just stand and survey in the pocket endlessly without rolling out to the right, without doing something with their legs, I think those days are long gone. But back to the Washington game, yeah, the pressure can definitely present problems. That defensive line is no joke. Their front seven really can play. They got some big ballers,
Even
considering
back
they have
seven, man.
Ryan
They're
Kerrigan
top
coming
five
off the
defense.
bench.
Top five defense. I don't
No,
know.
for sure.
I think that's tomorrow's upset alert all the way. All the
So
way
you
upset
actually think
alert.
Washington has a chance, or you're taking
Oh,
Washington outright
I
to win?
I think I would take
I'm
them.
hearing Washington. Yeah,
I
I'm hearing
would take
Washington.
them.
I'm hearing.
I would take them. Unless,
Well, if
of course, unless Alex Smith gets injured for some reason, that's a different story.
mm,
Which can
if
happen. Which can happen.
sure,
I wouldn't be
anything
surprised.
can happen.
But
But
if
assuming that there's no game
I think
breaking
I would take,
developments,
I would take Washington. That
you'd
defense,
confidently take Washington just to
I
flat
would
out win.
flat out win. Well, at the same time, I will give you one thing though.
You think that
I,
Alex Smith is going to hold up against that Tampa Bay front seven?
the defense hasn't been so good. It started off really hot, but then it's kind of been hit and miss there. It did well against those pretty bottom of the league teams, but nothing special.
Front
But Todd
seven, my
Bowles does like
friend.
the blitz, and
Front
Alex Smith
seven, my friend.
isn't the best player against the blitz either. So I'll give you that much. But I just think their defense is much better than Tampa Bay's defense.
But I could say the same thing, but on the flip side of the ball. Tampa Bay's offense is vastly superior to Washington's.
Yeah, but they're going against that defense. That's what matters. They're going against the better part of their defense. Like if I could understand if it was two offenses who are high powered, but that high powered offense has to go against their high powered defense, which means they'll contain them, if not stop them completely. Which I wouldn't be surprised. We've seen what Brady's done in some games when he's had pressure straight in his face, and these guys, it's not just like off the edge with Chase Young or anything. It's just gonna be up the middle with everyone. Like these guys have first rounders all the way up that front seven there. They're all first rounders. Like you see someone like Kerrigan, he comes off the bench. Like that's a really deep
Yeah,
front seven.
that's what I'm
Like
saying.
I I think that I'll be willing to
No,
put
for
money
sure.
down on
They
that.
have playmakers.
I would totally be down to put money on
My
that.
man's thinking upset.
Upset alert.
Bill's
Upset
thinking
alert.
upset. He's taking the Washington football team over the Tampa Bay Bucks. Now that's
I'm taking
interesting. You know what?
I'm taking the team
I
without the
just I
name, but I'll take them.
the Washington football team.
Let's
The
go.
Washington football team. No way, man. No way. You know what? Honestly, like I said, I think that the last month of football for Tampa Bay has done them a lot of good, both psychologically and obviously in terms of their chemistry on the field. I still think that regardless of his numbers against pressure, I think Tom Brady's one of the best at, at getting the ball out quick if need be. I know that that's not their offensive game plan this year, but if they adjust and they inevitably will, I think the running backs will come in big, and I think the short passing game will come in big.
I don't know, man.
I think that's a
Like
way. I think that's the only way that you try to mitigate the pressure. And I also think that Tampa Bay's defense is going to be too stout, too rigid, too solid for Alex Smith and that Washington offense. I really don't think that they can do serious damage.
they don't have to do serious damage. That's the thing, though. I just think they'll keep them down enough where they'll just need to do just a typical Alex Smith game. He does have a history. I'm not the most optimistic about Alex Smith. He does have a history of coming up short in the playoffs, so I wouldn't be the most surprised. But I think that defense it'll be like Peyton Manning's days carried them to a Super Bowl. That defense is something else.
Peyton Manning and carrying to the
Pey-
Super Bowl. That's
Pey-
funny. Peyton Manning and carrying
Pey-
to the Super Bowl. Yeah.
what about Peyton Manning, man? The guy had a you know plantar
Yeah.
fasciitis. What do you expect?
Yeah, he had plantar fasciitis in his arm, bro. He couldn't throw the football any longer.
And the guy uses his
I
feet to throw. What do you want?
think it was more than plantar fasciitis, my
Look at
friend.
the toughness. Toughness.
The
He had some
toughness.
nerve damage,
The
so maybe one of
toughness.
them wasn't working in his
Toughness.
throwing arm.
Yeah, toughness was to stick with Peyton throughout that year after that little reprieve.
Toughness. Oh,
That was
wow.
toughness. That was
That was
toughness.
tough.
After the little reprieve that he had, Brock Osweiler came in, and I remember he made some plays for Denver during that stretch of games that
Uh,
Manning missed with the so-called
you
plantar
you would say
fasciitis.
that because they did beat New England that year.
They did beat New England in overtime, so it really looked for a second, just for a slight second, that
That's what
Brock
I mean.
Osweiler might actually would have been the
With
better
Brock,
option.
that's
But people,
exactly it.
understandably went with pedigree.
With Brock Osweiler, they needed overtime, whereas with Peyton, they didn't need the overtime. In the playoffs, they didn't need overtime.
Mm,
Hmm. Yeah.
mm.
All right. So I think we're pretty
Like you
clear
said,
on
my
our
friend,
position here.
as you were literally just saying, I think someone said to me 2 minutes ago, "Oh, if it was offense against high-powered offense, I'd understand, but it's offense against defense." So
Hmm.
realistically, I think the Broncos beating New England in that AFC Championship game had very little to do with Peyton Manning. Yeah, obviously he played great, but I think that defense absolutely balled. think that defense
That
absolutely
it was
balled.
the
And
same.
that is to
It was
say that
the it was literally the same defense that Brock Osweiler
even though
had.
Brady
Didn't change.
and that offense struggled, they were still in the game late. It all came down to Steven Gostkowski's missed PAT in the first quarter. Otherwise, it would have been a tied game late in the fourth, going to OT where anything can happen. They had to go for
That
two because of the missed PAT in the first quarter. That threw off obviously their chances to tie. Otherwise, that touchdown late in the fourth would have been enough to take it to OT. And who knows what would have happened then, right? Anyone's game. Anyone's game.
at
Despite
the
the
end of
fact that Peyton balled and that defense played about as well as it could of that game. And they
oh, they
still
played
almost
better.
lost.
They
And
played
they
better the next
still
game.
almost lost.
They
Well,
played
yeah,
better the
obviously.
next
Look who they
game.
were playing, bro. Look who they were playing.
All right. Let's get back on topic. So I think we're pretty clear who we have in this game and
I
why.
mean, we're clear about who we have. I still believe in Brady, Brown, and that Tampa Bay offense. I'm just curious to hear what you think the final score is going to be around. If you actually think that Alex Smith is going to put up more points than Tom
Uh,
Brady, I'm loving that trust on the Washington football team's defense. My boy putting it all on the line on that
Total
Washington
points.
football team defense with no playoff experience, none.
Who doesn't? You're talking about Chase Young or the whole team?
I'm talking about the defense in general. There's no one on there that you can realistically point out and say,
But
"Oh wow, that guy's been
de-
there, done that."
if you look back into the history, defense is never the one, never the side of the ball that comes up short in the playoffs. It's always the offense. Defense rarely ever struggles in the playoffs.
I'm glad you say that, Bill, because whenever we talk about past playoff underperformances by a certain QB that used to play in Denver and Indianapolis, I'm glad you don't think it's the defense. Let me hold on to that. Let me write that one down.
That write
Make
it down. Write it
make
down.
make sure I got that for any other time that you want to say that Peyton Manning was let down by his defense in the playoffs.
No, I said he was let down by
Hmm.
other players, not by defense.
Yeah.
But defense was never
Just
good
in
to
case you
begin with,
ever
so it
feel
didn't
like
make
the
a
defense
difference.
was.
Oh,
Oh,
I don't know.
there
Let's
we go. There,
go.
here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
What am I thinking for
Here we
this
go.
game?
Let's
Final
let's hear this
score.
final score. Three nothing, bro. 3-0. Make it a footy score. Yeah, 3-0. That defense is gonna. They're just gonna completely shut down the
Three
Bucks. No,
nothing. 3-0. Yeah,
three
it's very
nothing.
tempting.
Just
Very
make it three
tempting.
nothing.
Very tempting. I'll give you that much. But I'm gonna go with. Let's go with 24-21.
24-21 Washington.
Yeah.
You think Alex Smith puts up 24?
No, I think the defense will put us. They'll score.
Ooh, so you got a potential defensive score. A pick
I think
six?
there's a
You
bit.
calling a pick
I
six out
wouldn't be
here?
surprised, man. Your boy's been. I don't know. That's a pick ended last year's playoff, so I wouldn't be surprised if that does it again. But let's do
Yeah,
24-21.
but I think 24-21. So he gives them 3 touchdowns. He surprised you're giving Brady, 3 whole touchdowns, considering how good you're making this Washington team out to be,
Well,
and how trash you're making Tom Brady and the Bucks out to be.
I'm not saying trash. These guys still won 11 games. I'm not saying trash.
Still won 11 games. The man still threw for 40 touchdowns,
Yeah.
4,300 yards.
Winston threw for more, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
Winston didn't throw for more. This guy threw for disgusting amount of yards and 40 touchdowns. Come on now.
No,
At 43 years old, come on now. Come
at
on now. That's
43 years old, Winston threw
at
more
40
passing yards
at
last year.
43 years old.
We don't even have that history
Oh
because
yeah,
he's the
because
only guy who's
Winston
ever done it.
had Winston. Yeah,
Winston,
Winston literally has one of the most
he had the
perplexing
30 for
seasons
30,
last year,
man.
but
30
whatever.
for 30 last year.
Yeah,
30
30,
TDs,
30
30
and
picks.
30, and didn't he get close
Yeah.
to 5K?
I think he
And
did.
he had close to 5,000 passing yards. Well, that served him a lot. Obviously, my man's not even the backup QB in New Orleans.
Bro, he had 51,
Boy
5109.
sitting nicely.
5109, over 5,000
5,000
last
yards, 30 touchdowns, and
30
30
picks.
picks. and
All right,
30 picks,
you get
and
it.
they didn't end up with as good of a record. They didn't end up anywhere near playoff contention.
Yeah, I'm not.
And
I'm
Jameis
not saying
Winston is the third string quarterback in New Orleans.
you're making it seem like I'm
Can't
saying.
compare the two.
I'm not comparing the two. I'm just saying he threw for more yards. So before you talk about Brady throwing for 40 whatever 100 he threw for, just saying
Yeah.
Winston did the same thing in that same offense with lesser players. You can say because Brown was in there,
Well, that's our players you could say,
with
but not
Gronk
to
was
the
in
same
there.
amount of. No, come on now. We both
Gronk
know
was in
Gronkowski's
there.
a shell of
Brown was in
himself.
there. Who else?
That's it. That's it.
Uh,
That's it. Man still had OJ Howard. Man still had Mike Evans. Chris Godwin was there. Obviously, he had
they had
his
careers,
quote
man.
unquote breakout season.
Breakout season for both because of Winston. Just air it
Well,
out there.
I actually think that they're both big time ballers individually.
I agree.
If anything, Jameis Winston was holding the team back, as evidenced by the fact that their record improved vastly from last year to this year. They're in playoff contention, and if you take into account the fact that it's still 40 touchdowns.
It is still 40 touchdowns.
My man still threw 40 touchdowns to 11 picks.
Yeah, 33 for 30. That's Winston here for you.
4,500 yards, and he's about to win this next playoff game. I'm telling you, these mans
I,
aren't losing to the Washington football team. Their offense isn't high powered enough.
as I was saying before, you so rudely, just left. I would actually like Tampa Bay over literally, maybe I would say every other team in the NFC. Maybe, yeah, literally every other
Really,
team in the NFC.
you just think that Washington
Yeah.
is their David to their Goliath.
Not necessarily, I like New Orleans too because New Orleans has did a similar thing to them both times, like with their front seven and stuff, and their defense as a whole.
Yeah, New
But
Orleans.
I think since the Tampa Bay is the worst team, I guess it would be in New Orleans and it would be good because I don't really trust if Drew's gonna have to go up there and play somewhere else. That's not really the best scenario. But in the dome, I think he'll be okay.
In the
So
dome.
those are the two defenses that I would kind of be scared to go against if I was Tampa Bay, especially with that Mike Evans. I think that's a big, big loss. Like Mike Evans is a guy who constantly requires double teams. Like Godwin's as good as he is, Brown as good as he is at this point in his career, I don't think he consistently would, you know, require double teams from a defense compared to the Mike Evans, who's a complete layup. You just throw it up and he's got it.
That point is well taken. I think the loss of Mike Evans, if he does, is he actually
Well,
out or
it's
is
a
he
game
going?
time. It's a game
It's
game
game
time
time. Yeah.
decision.
If he
Yeah, yeah.
actually misses the game, no
Mm-hmm.
doubt it's going to be a big loss, even just in terms of how they adjust their defensive coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Having Mike Evans there, even if it's in a limited capacity, to just serve as a decoy, which could be something that Bruce Arians decides to do depending on his health. That could swing things tremendously. Obviously, if you have one less guy to worry about, it's way more advantageous for Washington. I just think that I just think that Tampa Bay's offensive line has played well this season when they've all been healthy. Ali Marpet is a huge addition. He missed some games and they didn't look the same without him. Tristan Wirfs, I'm interested to see if Tristan Wirfs is actually who goes up against Chase Young or if they try to hide him and go elsewhere. But I think that Tampa Bay's offensive line will play well enough to keep Brady standing, to give him enough time to pick apart that secondary and do his thing, make plays, to get guys going. I actually think the first quarter of the game is going to be the most telling.
I think the more we talk about it, I'm actually leaning more towards Washington than I did before we started this. So I'm
He's
actually
more
liking them more and more as
he's
we're
more and
talking
more
about it.
convinced. He's more and more convinced. He's going next thing you know, he's gonna go to 3-0. He's gonna go with the funny score. Next
Hey
thing you
man,
know, he's
if
3-0.
you gotta give me something else. Maybe we'll get there. I'll give
I'm actually
I'll give Brady.
surprised. I'm actually surprised that you seem to believe enough in the Washington offense to put up more points.
It's not about the Washington offense. I just think that defense is something else. Like I only reason I picked that close of a game too. I think they're gonna score in like right at the end, trying to make a comeback and fall right short. where they're gonna score a touchdown probably in the wailing moments of the game, or like not. It's not gonna like. I don't think they're actually gonna score three touchdowns.
You mean Tampa Bay? You don't think they're gonna?
Tampa Bay. No, that's the only
Yeah.
reason you when you're like he actually gave them three touchdowns. I think the third touchdown is going to be somewhere towards the end where they're trying to make that come back and
Oh,
fall
so
a
you
little
actually
short.
think, yeah, you think Washington's gonna have a sizable lead, and it's just that Tampa's gonna cut into it late.
Yeah,
Ah.
I could see that. I could see a walk off field goal too at the end. That could
Did
happen too.
you? Okay, but what happened? Where was this hellacious Washington defense last week when they played Philadelphia? You know, Jalen Hurts was still making plays. The game was still within reach until Dougie Peterson decided to bring in Nate Sudfeld,
That's a topic for another time. There's
a
just
third string QB. So I just, you see,
it's
everyone's
different,
high
man.
on the Washington D.
And
Everyone's
that's
high on the
Jalen
Washington D.
Hurts. You're comparing Jalen Hurts to Tom Brady. Completely different players.
Completely different players. Granted, completely different players, but
Exactly.
you can't tell me that you
He
don't
was
think
running
Tom Brady's capable of doing more damage.
from the pocket. That's the thing, right? If I was a defense, I would much rather play a stationary target than someone who moves around, runs for a
Who can
first down.
scramble?
But
I
you could have the
mean,
perfect
that's
coverage. He has a single gap and he has a first down there. I would much rather have a stationary target like Brady, who just has to rely on his receivers to get open all the time. Constantly get his receivers to be open so he can hit that quick pass. Otherwise, he's going down. He's going to be flinching out there after a few times. He's going to be, seeing that fourth down again on the fifth down.
he's gonna be thinking he's got an extra down.
And he's going to get extra down, man. He's going to be. That was the same thing. He was rattled that game. He was getting hit that game. Same
That
thing here.
was that was a long time ago. That was a long time ago. I think, like I said, I think they've done just enough to get their feet under them. I think they're actually going to be motivated, and Brady's going to galvanize the troops around this whole media speculation. There's been a lot of people that are whispering, talking about Washington's defense, what Chase Young was saying on the field after the game versus Philadelphia. I think that not that they need any more motivation, but I think a good football team, especially when it comes to playoff time, they're able to internalize that out. They're able to internalize that type of outside noise and actually use it as motivation. So I think they're going to come out. They've obviously been hearing all the talk throughout the entire season, but I think they're going to come out brimming with confidence due to their performance the last 4 games, like I said. And they're going to take it to Washington. I actually look for them to try and score
Did,
early.
did you hear Chase Young's response today? He responded to it.
Yeah, he didn't back down. He didn't back down.
Absolutely.
He didn't
I don't
back down.
blame
And,
him.
I was going to say, I like that. I like that from Boy. If you said it, you got to own up to it, regardless of the outcome, whatever happens. And you also got to understand that for someone who's a first-year player in the league, he's probably been watching Tom Brady play football for the majority of his life.
Exactly. I think I was reading somewhere where he was like one. I think he was Tom Brady won his first Super Bowl when he was like 1 or something. Like it was something like crazy. Like it's been a long, long time. Like
Yeah, and
he's watched
Chase,
it all his life.
exactly. Chase Young has probably not. He's never known football without Tom Brady. He's never
Exactly.
known NFL football without Tom Brady. Take that in. And my guy is in the first year in. He's in his first year in the league now. So I think that comes with the territory. Drake said it best: "Your idols become your rivals," and I think that's exactly what happened. I think obviously he was in the heat of the moment. They had just clinched the division over Philadelphia, and he was hyped. He's about to go into his first playoff game in his first season against the greatest quarterback who's ever laced him up. So obviously my boy's going to be hype, and I like the swagger. I like the fact that he didn't back down from it. He didn't say, "Oh no, blah blah blah." No, he owned up to it, and we'll see what happens on Sunday. I think he's got to have a big game, and no doubt he's a baller. But I just don't think it's Washington's time.
Yeah,
Tampa's too
that's fine.
strong.
That's fine. I don't know.
24-21.
24
24
20.
21
On that note, I haven't heard your score yet.
I was just gonna get there, my friend. I'm actually gonna go 27-17 Tampa. And I'm actually gonna say Washington gets a
27.
score late. And I'm actually gonna say
Okay.
Washington gets a score late to make it look a little bit more respectable. I think Tampa
Mm.
Bay, like I said, they're gonna come out early, and they're gonna try to put Washington on the ropes. Obviously, knowing that their offense is somewhat limited
Anemic.
by their personnel. Yeah. uh,
It's well with Alex Smith, man. As I said, 4-1. All right,
Not
all
telling
right.
enough. Not telling enough.
Oh yeah, that's telling
So
enough actually.
so hold on. I got my boy Bill here calling this Washington W. He's got this Washington W by 3 points. My boy's talking maybe a walk-off field goal. Maybe Tampa Bay scores a touchdown late to make it closer than it seems on their comeback bid. But nah, I got Tampa square at 27-17. There or thereabouts. Like I said, it also wouldn't surprise me if Washington added to that score line or something similar late in the game. But wholeheartedly, I believe Tampa Bay is going to win.